Suffering with low mood is no longer necessary. If we truly want to transform our state, we need to understand the following: expensive, long-lasting dopamine versus low-effort, quick dopamine. We will learn how to apply the understanding into actionable steps. Have you noticed how you feel after scrolling through social media, short-form content, or consuming processed quick sugars or pleasure food? You soon feel low again, and the cycle begins. Every time you get a hit of this kind of dopamine, your dopamine levels actually crash to a level below your baseline from where it started. The reason this is so addicting is because this kind of dopamine is unpredictable. You don't know if the next bite or the next swipe will provide the dopamine again. However, knowing this, we now have the full control to stop that cycle. First, we need to understand what happens inside your brain that causes this low mood. The brain reduces the dopamine receptors available and increases the pain of engaging with this action. Because the brain is flooded with the quick spikes, it needs to downregulate it by lowering the baseline to balance for the spikes. Because your dopamine baseline levels drop as you feel it by the low mood and irritability, you have the urge to consume more in order to get a good feeling again. But that actually costs you your view of yourself and the satisfaction of your life. What is the reward then of the expensive dopamine? The reward is the most satisfactory and long-lasting dopamine you can ever get compared to instant dopamine sources. This changes how much anxiety and low moods you have, and we genuinely will live a better life. We will use a thing called dopamine release regulation. Now we step into that. This is dopamine that is associated with goal-driven behavior and physiological stressors. When a reward you get requires sustained effort and a delay, the dopamine release is regulated, meaning the brain releases dopamine in small, consistent amounts to keep you motivated. Because the reward is based on goal-driven behavior, the brain does not experience these violent spike and crash cycles. This kind of dopamine actually increases the baseline dopamine levels for several hours afterward, which means you will feel better and motivated for longer. Plus, because there is no immediate reward, you are also training your brain to stay focused, making it much easier to resist impulses in other areas of life too. To name a few, the 4 ways we can tap into this long-lasting dopamine. Number 1, physical exercise. This increases the density of dopamine receptors, which makes you more sensitive to smaller amounts of dopamine afterwards. Number 2, by learning a skill, the exploration reward. 3, by completing a project, the closing a loop effect. 4, by physiological stress, a cold plunge or sauna. And with these physiological stressors, the way the brain rewards is for surviving the discomfort. The most important takeaway is that the long-lasting satisfying dopamine is generated through friction. This exercise of willpower is what buys the long-lasting dopamine elevation. If the activity is easy and the reward is immediate, it will crash lower the baseline from where it even started, and getting the baseline up again requires more effort. If the activity is difficult and the reward is delayed or physiological, it raises your baseline and pays you dopamine for longer. Imagine hacking your dopamine for the whole day by, for example, exercising in the morning, then learning something new, and then completing a task from a to-do list. You can analyze your daily activities if you have some sort of variations of these. That's how the high satisfaction reward cycle goes on for the whole day. But being in the middle of a low cycle, getting up and going, is and will always be the hardest part. I have a resource for you to master this too. The video I will link breaks down the understanding of what happens in the brain in the beginning of a task and the reasons behind the resistance. There is also a practical way to hack the initial resistance. And if you feel that low energy, numbness, and fatigue, and you need to reset your dopamine levels, watch that post-lunch dip video where I explain the mechanisms of that fatigue and how to rest so the dopamine levels reset and you are ready to go again. In the description of that video, there are timestamps for those sections.